Hello friends, welcome to this Introduction to Electronics course. Today is the introduction lecture for this course. So let us start then. I hope you have already gone through the syllabus for this course, right? You have already looked into what are the contents of this course and what are the topics that we are going to cover in this course, right? For your reference, I have also pasted the syllabus here in this second page. These are the major topics that we are going to cover in this course. So the first one is semiconductors and PN junction diodes, right? Then different diode circuits, then filters. Primarily we will focus on the passive filters. Then bipolar junction transistor or BJT, then basic BJT amplifiers, then field effect transistors or FETs. Will primarily focus on MOSFETs. However, we will also briefly discuss about JFET in this course. Then basic MOSFET amplifiers. Once we cover the basic MOSFET amplifiers, then we will directly go to the operational amplifiers or op-amp and different op-amp circuits. Okay. So once we finish all this part, this is primarily the analog electronics part, then we can directly go into the digital electronics part here. And in digital electronics, we will know what is Boolean algebra, how to reduce these Boolean expressions using different techniques, for example this Karnaugh map, then different combinational and sequential circuits, etc. Finally, if time permits, we will also look into the different types of oscillators. Yeah, regarding books, so here we have listed 5 books as you can see here, right? Among these 5 books, this first book, which is Electronic Circuits Analysis and Design by Donald A. Nieman, okay, which is actually this book, okay. So this we will be using as our textbooks for this course, okay. The other books, for example, this Integrated Electronics by Millman and Helkias, then Digital Logic and Computer Design by Maurice Mano, then Solid State Electronic Device by Streetman and Banerjee, as well as this Art of Electronics, this book we will be primarily using as an reference book. However, in this context, I would also like to mention that in the last page only we have seen in the syllabus the digital electronic parts is also there. So for the digital electronics part, we will be looking the contents from this book, that is the Maurice Mano book, okay. Now if I say this word electronics, how will you define this electronics or how will you describe this electronics? Let's see how Oxford Dictionaries has done that. So as per Oxford Dictionaries, electronics is the branch of physics and technology concerned with the design of circuits using transistors and microchips and with the behavior and movement of electrons in a semiconductor, conductor, vacuum or gas. Fine. And if you see this Wikipedia, you will find Wikipedia describes electronics in this way. Electronics comprises the physics, engineering, technology and the applications that deal with the emission, flow and control of electrons in vacuum and matter, right? So one thing to note here is that electronics is related to electrons, right? It's basically the behavior and movement of electrons right? You can see the almost the same term here as well. Flow and control of electrons. Where? In semiconductor? No, not only in semiconductor, but it is also through the conductor. Not only through the conductor, even through different gases. Not only the gases, even through the vacuum, right? You can see here. So movement of or the flow of electrons in semiconductor, conductor, vacuum or gas. Fine. So here we have listed some of the popular branches of electronics. I am quite sure you have definitely heard of this branch, about these branches. So one is detail electronics, right? Second one is microelectronics, then power electronics, optoelectronics, telecommunications, analog electronics, nanoelectronics, and the list goes on. Let us also see what are the components of or what are the different components of electronics in the next page. So electronic components. So if I ask you the question without seeing this figure, if I ask you what are the components of electronics, what will be your answers? I think most of you will first start with this different integrated circuits or ICs, right? Then some of you will also say like different type of resistors, different type of diodes, right? Different type of capacitors, right? Maybe some transistors, right? Some inductors. As this is the introduction class, so I thought it would be nice if we recap or briefly discuss about these different components in this introduction class. So let us start with the first component, which is this resistor. Okay, let us start our discussion with resistors. So what is a resistor? Resistor is a passive two-terminal circuit element that implements electrical resistance. So resistor is a passive component. What do you mean by passive component? So broadly, all electronic component can be classified into two groups. One is the active component and the other one is the passive component. So what do you mean by active component? Active component are those components which can produce power gain. That means it can amplify the signal, whereas the passive component cannot do that, right? So resistors are passive components because it cannot amplify or produce any power gain. Okay, what about the circuit symbol of resistors? Circuit symbol, right? So resistors are generally denoted in this way, zigzag line. In some cases, resistors are also represented in this way. And how does it physically look like? Obviously, in electronic circuit, you have seen resistors are looking like this, two terminals, and it has different colors, parallel color lines, right, on top of the. So we will discuss what these color lines are. Yeah. Now suppose one resistor whose resistance value is R and through which one current I is flowing, and due to which there will be a voltage drop V. So you know that resistor obeys the Ohm's law, and as per Ohm's law the voltage developed will be proportional to the current. So if you take the proportionality constant, so basically it will come V equal to IR, right? So what is this R? R is nothing but the value of resistance. And if this V is expressed in volt and I is in ampere, then the unit of R or resistance is Ohm, and is also denoted by this symbol. This Ohm is the SI unit of resistance that you already know. if you would like to plot the IV characteristics of a resistor, suppose this Y is I and the X axis is V, then how does it look like? And this is 0. So basically it will be a straight line in this quadrant. What will be in the other quadrant? It will be also a straight line, right? And what about the slope? The slope of this straight line would be equal to what? 1 by R. In an electronic circuit, there might be multiple resistors connected in series or in parallel. So suppose if two resistors are connected in series like this R1 and R2, then their equivalent resistance would be given by R1 plus R2, right? And if these two resistances are connected in parallel, R1 and R2 connected in parallel, then their equivalent resistance is given by 1 by R1 plus 1 by R2. Other term you are more familiar with, which is R1 R2 by R1 plus R2, right? So this is the equivalent resistance for series and parallel combinations. You know that. Here let us briefly discuss the construction of these resistors. In electronic circuit, most of the time the resistors that you will be seeing, they are primarily carbon film based resistors. Yeah, they look like this from outside. Yes. And how to make it? First of all, we have to take one insulating cylinder, which is denoted in this figure by this ceramic carrier, the center black one, right? On top of which we have to deposit a carbon film, which is actually the conducting material for this resistor. And to increase this length, the carbon, with the help of laser, the carbon film has to be cut in type of this helical shape, so that the total length increase, and that will help us to get the desired resistance value. Fine. Then these are the two leads that will be connecting this carbon film with the outside world. And finally, we have to encapsulate the total thing with an external coating, right? And this helical cut, okay, the particular width of this helical cut will determine the value of resistance of this resistor. Larger because the larger the pitch means the resistance will be smaller. Not only this pitch width, but also the thickness of this carbon film and its composition will also determine the value of resistance of this resistor, right? So now you know how does this carbon film resistors are actually made, isn't it? And for these resistors, which are actually the fixed value resistors, fixed value resistor, we can see multiple color lines, right, parallel, and those color lines are primarily used to indicate the value of these resistors. So let us see how. So how to read the resistance color code? So for that, we should first identify the color code corresponding to its tolerance. So typically either gold or silver, these two color is used for this tolerance. So first let us identify that here for this resistance. So we have identified, so this is the color band corresponding to tolerance. So we have to keep this color band towards in our right side. So once we keep it in our right side, then the first color band will correspond to this first digit, the second one the second digit, the third one is the multiplier, and fourth one we have already identified it as tolerance. Now let us see how to read the value. For example, for this case, or the first color band is blue. Let us see here, this is the blue, and blue corresponds to a value of 6. So let us write here 6. Then the second digit is red. So red, this is red. So red corresponds to 2. Then this is black. This is multiplier. So it corresponds to 1. And tolerance, it is the golden color. So which corresponds to 5. Then the total value of resistance can be read from this color code as 6 first digit, then the second digit into the multiplier, this ohm, plus minus the value of tolerance. So we can also write it then at this as 62 ohm plus minus 5%, right? So this is easy only, and if you have understood this, then please tell me what is the value of resistance for this resistor. Read from its color code. So how to do that? First color is, so first to identify the tolerance, right? So here you can see the tolerance color bit is this golden color, right? So we have to keep it towards right, so that is fine. So this is the first bit then, on the first color band, so which is brown. So brown corresponds to 1. So this 1. Then second one is black. Second digit, black corresponds to 0. Third one is red. Red is the multiplier, which corresponds to 100. So this ohm, and the tolerance is, it is golden color. So tolerance is plus minus 5%. So basically it is nothing but 1 kilo ohm plus minus 5%, isn't it? So please quickly do the same thing for this resistor as well. So first brown, so 1, then silver color means 8, then it is red, multiplier then is 100, this is ohm, plus minus 5% as tolerance, so which is basically nothing but 1.8 kilo ohm. So now if some resistor is given to you, then from its color code you should be able to tell the value of its resistance, right? So this is also important for your laboratory course. Another important aspect of resistor is its power dissipation. And how can you find power dissipation? It's I into V, or you can also find it from this I square into R, right? And how the power is dissipated in a resistor? In form of a heat, right? And due to this heat, the temperature will increase. So depending on this use of this a particular resistor in a circuit, particularly on the value of its I and V, you have to use the proper value of wattage for that resistor. Typically different values are available, for example quarter watt, half watt, 1 watt, even higher wattage resistors are also available. And perhaps you can have noticed that as you are increasing the wattage, the size of the resistors are also increasing. So while using a resistor in a circuit, you should not cross its rated wattage level. However, all these resistors are actually fixed value resistor, right? But for many application you also need variable resistors. So image of one of such variable resistor is shown here. This variable resistor has 3 terminals, right? Let me point it out. So these are these 3 terminals, terminal 1, terminal 2 and 3. And this is the control knob, and if you rotate this control knob, the resistance between terminal 1 and terminal 2 or between terminal 2 and terminal 3 will change, right? Now if you open this cover for this variable resistor, it looks something like this, okay, where you can clearly see the 3 terminals. Terminal 1, this corresponds to the same terminal here, terminal 2 and terminal 3. Now between terminal 1 and terminal 3 you can see there is one resistive track which is generally made up with this carbon flame, okay. And so if you think of the resistance between terminal 1 and terminal 2, that is always fixed, right? Because that is not changing. So let me write it first. Between terminal 1 and terminal 3, the resistance is fixed. What about between terminal 1 and terminal 2? So you can see with terminal 2, the wiper is connected, right? And if you rotate the terminal 2 in the direction as shown in this figure, then the resistance will increase because the length will increase between terminal 1 and terminal 2, right? What about between terminal 2 and terminal 3? The resistance will decrease. So by changing the wiper position, we can change the resistance between terminals. And the circuit symbol for this variable resistor is also shown here, right? By the way, I forgot to mention the name of this variable resistor, which it is actually the potentiometer, or in short it is also written as POT. I think you might have seen this pot as a volume control switch in old audio systems or in television set. Now how this resistor will behave in a AC circuit, let us discuss that now. So resistor in AC, right? So this is an AC power supply, right? And this is a very simple circuit which is V, right? As a result, one current will flow through this resistor, right? And as it is an AC circuit, so what will be the impedance offered by this resistive load? Impedance, which is noted by the symbol Z, that will be same as that of this R, same as that of in DC circuit, right? And what is the unit of this Z? Now suppose the supply voltage V is a sinusoidal signal given by this Vm sine of omega t, then what will be the expression of I? Very simple, right? It's nothing but this Vm by R sine of omega t. So if we have to plot the waveforms in y direction, it is plotting, we are plotting the amplitude, right? Then the waveforms will look like this, sinusoidal. This is the voltage, this is the waveform for voltage, and this is the waveform for current. Both of them will be sinusoidal, and you can see from this image as well from this expression, they are in same phase, isn't it? No phase difference between current and voltage. If we have to demonstrate the same thing using a phasor diagram, then we have to show it like this, isn't it? Where V and I are in same phase, no phase difference. So capacitors, right? Let us now discuss capacitors. So what is a capacitor? A capacitor is a two-terminal passive electronic component that stores energy in its electric field, isn't it? Images of some of the popular capacitors are shown here. I am quite sure you must have seen this type of capacitor in different electronic circuits. What about the circuit symbol of capacitor? You already know that this is the circuit symbol, isn't it? And every capacitor is characterized by its capacitance, isn't it? And what is the unit of capacitance? It is farad, or in short it is also written as only small capital F, right? This is the SI unit. Now if I ask you, how can you make a capacitor? It's very simple, right? Capacitor is nothing but two parallel plates, right, separated from each other. So let us show an schematic of that. So two parallel plates, this is the connection to this plate and this is the connection to this other plate. For better visibility, let me color this. Let me color the other plate as well. Yeah, looks good. Now if the area of this plate, each plate is A, and the dielectric constant of the material which is between these two parallel plate is epsilon, and the separation between these two parallel plate is not looking good. Let me take some other color. Yeah, now it looks prominent. And the separation between these two parallel plate, which is D. Then what is the capacitance? Then capacitance, it will be epsilon A by D, right? Now suppose with one of the terminal we have connected one polarity and the other polarity of voltage, okay, as shown in this figure. Then all positive charge will be stored here, as they are basically electrically isolated, these two plates, and all negative charges will be stored here, right? And if the voltage applied is V, then and the charge is stored in each plate is Q, then the capacitance can also be defined as the ratio of this Q by V, isn't it? Where this V is the polar voltage difference between these two terminal or the applied voltage. And what is the energy storage in a capacitor? It's pretty easy only, right? Energy storage can be given by half C V square. C is the capacitance and V is the voltage. These are the popular types of capacitors. The first one is the ceramic capacitor and the second one is the electrolytic capacitor. So let us discuss one by one. First, start with the ceramic capacitor. Ceramic capacitors, a ceramic disc will act as a dielectric between two electrodes. Let me show the electrode here. Yeah, this is the electrode, right, which is a metal, and this electrode is connected with the connecting wire. There is one more electrode which is on the other side. We cannot see it from this image, right, and which is connected with the end wire. And this type of capacitor is called the Dix type capacitor. However, capacitance of this Dix type capacitor is quite small. So how can you increase it? We can. One of the way would be to increase the area, because capacitance is proportional to area. We have discussed that. So for that, one of the possible way would be to design a capacitor like this as shown in this image, right, where multiple alternating electrodes are connected with this side and this side, okay, which physically if you see they are look like this type of box, and these are called multi-layer ceramic chip capacitor, or in short MLCC, multi-layer ceramic chip capacitor. And in case of electrolytic capacitor, which looks like this, and if you see this image carefully, you can see some negative sign is written there, right? That means some polarity is mentioned, which indicates that particularly this terminal has to be always at lower potential compared to the other terminal, okay? So you have to be careful while you are placing it. And also you can see some voltage level is also indicated, so it indicates the both polarity as well as the maximum voltage that you can apply across this capacitor. And why so, that we can explain from the structure of this electrolyte capacitor. So as you can see in this zoomed version, see there are multiple layers, right? There are multiple layers. What is the first layer? The first layer is indicated as paper separator. So let us say it as the layer number 1, which is a paper separator. What is the second layer? Second layer is a foil. So let us consider that is an aluminum foil, okay, which separates. So this paper layer separates this aluminum foil, right? So this is layer number 2. Third one we can see from here, that is the oxide layer. The fourth layer that you can see here, that is the tissue soaked in electrolyte, okay. So that's how it is called the electrolytic capacitor. And the number 5 is the foil, right? So let us further illustrate it using taking one schematic diagram. So as shown here, the blue, where this blue color indicates the aluminum foil, with which with one side positive bias is connected and the other side negative bias is connected, as the same thing, right? The same thing is also shown in the above diagram, right? And what is this brown color? This brown color is the tissue soaked in electrolyte, right? Due to the application of this bias and presence of electrolyte, one oxide layer will form close to this anode surface, right? Let us show that. Yes. Now this oxide which is formed due to this electrolytic action, this would work as an dielectric for this electrolyte. So in electrolytic capacitor, dielectric is formed when bias is applied, and this dielectric is thin and quite uniform. And when the dielectric become thin, what will happen to its capacitance? Capacitance will increase, isn't it? And you can see that we have also rolled this total portion in a paper with a separating using a paper. So the area is also quite high. So as the area is high, so that will further increase the capacitance, right? Let us also show the air paper, the position of paper. Yes, indicate that paper. Yes, right. So here what are the, this is basically the electrolyte capacitor, and for this electrolyte capacitor, area is quite high, dielectric is quite thin. So as a result, you know that C is equal to epsilon A by D. So A increase, D decreases. So that's why capacitance have to increase. For this electrolytic capacitor, the thin oxide dielectric limits the maximum voltage that can be applied across this type of capacitor, because you know this oxide is pretty thin. So if you apply more voltage than the rated voltage, then the oxide can break down, which basically can short this two terminal. At the same time, polarity is also important, because if you reverse the polarity or if you reverse the applied voltage, then what will happen? The oxide will break down, and in that case also the positive and negative terminal will short, and which is quite hazardous. for this type of electrolytic capacitor. So while using the electrolytic capacitor, please be careful on the polarity and the maximum rated voltage that can be used. And regarding the capacitance value that we have already discussed, due to the high value of A and very thin dielectric, the capacitance is expected to be quite high. That also you can see for this electrolytic capacitor, the capacitance value are in the range of few hundreds microfarad. However, it is important to mention that all these capacitors are fixed value capacitors. Like resistor, in many cases you might also require some variable capacitor. So in those cases you should use this type of variable capacitors. Fine. Now to illustrate the working principle of these variable capacitors, let us use this type of interdigited electrodes, right? Violet color is one type of electrode and this orange color is another type of electrode, and suppose they are connected with two different polarities. Now if you change the position of one of this electrode, then the area of overlap between this electrode will also change, right? And as we have discussed earlier that the capacitance is proportional to area, then if the overlap area is changed, then the capacitance will also change. So for this type of variable capacitor, if you rotate this knob, then the same thing will happen, means the overlap area will change. As a result, the capacitance will also change. Here one of this one of the electrode is fixed and the other electrode is rotating. That is clear to you, right? So that's how these variable capacitors work. Here let us also discuss some other important points regarding capacitors. What about the current voltage relationship of a capacitor? That means how voltage and current of across and through a capacitor is related. You already know that, right? It is related by this expression, I of t equal to C dV dt, isn't it? If this is the capacitor and if the voltage drop is V of t and the current flowing through is I of t and the capacitance is C, then I of t will be related with this V of t by this expression. Another important point, if two capacitors are connected in series C1 and C2, what will be their equivalent capacitance? C equivalent, it is 1 by 1 plus C1 plus 1 by C2, that means C1 C2 by C1 plus C2, isn't it? Whereas if two capacitors are connected in parallel, for example the C1 and C2 connected in parallel, then their equivalent capacitance C equivalent is nothing but what? C1 plus C2. In case of AC circuit, what will happen? For that, let me paste one image here. Yes, so this is the image you can see. So one AC source is connected with the capacitor, nothing else is here, right? Very simple circuit. So this is V of t, which is Vm sine of omega t, and current I of t as a result flowing through this capacitor. Then we already know the expression of V of t, that is Vm sine of omega t. Then what will be the expression of I of t? You can find it out, right? Because you know the expression, this expression, I of t equal to C into dV by dt. So if we do that, we will get this cos of omega t, right? Now this cos of omega t can also be written in this way, sine of omega t plus 90 degree. So please notice one thing here. For V of t, it is sine of omega t, whereas for I of t, it is sine of omega t plus 90 degree. So there is an additional plus 90 degree term, right, for the expression of I of t. So that definitely indicates across this capacitor, current leads voltage by 90 degree, right. The same thing you can also see from their waveform. So this is the voltage waveform, right, and this is the current waveform, right. So voltage waveform is like Vm sine of omega t, and the current waveform you can see. So voltage waveform is sinusoidal and the other waveform is cosinusoidal, right. And definitely from this image also it is clear that the current leads voltage by 90 degree, right. You know that, right? This axis is amplitude. And if we have to plot the same thing in a phasor diagram, then it will look like this, right? Current leads voltage by 90 degree, same thing. So here one important thing I would like to mention is that the capacitor that we have considered is the ideal capacitor, right? So that's what you are getting this characteristic. However, for real capacitor, along with the capacitance, some resistance and inductance, these are the parasitic component, will also be there, and we have to consider those parasitic component as well in our analysis. And what about the reactance of this capacitor in AC circuit? So reactance Xc is what? You know that, right? It is 1 by omega c, or you can also write it 1 by 2 pi fc, where f is the frequency in hertz, c is the capacitance in farad, omega is the angular frequency, right? So, and what is the unit of this Xc? So ohm. So if f increases, then what will happen to this Xc? Then Xc decreases, right? So higher the frequency, the lower will be the reactance. So if this is a capacitor, right, then the same capacitor for a very high frequency will behave as a short circuit. When f is very high, right, the same capacitor will behave as an open circuit when f is very low, right. So even in DC circuit, the capacitor will behave as an open circuit, right.